Hi everybody. I've had a request to solve the very last question under momentum and energy. This is question 4. It comes in two parts and I'll just do one part at a time. So that's a question. I've written it out on the whiteboard. So we'll take you through it. So momentum and energy. So a load oscillates on a spring in simple harmonic motion. When you just see that first line, we have to just think of what are the energy changes that take place in a spring. The energy changes is between elastic potential energy and kinetic energy. And the other thing we have to keep in mind is that at any instant of time, the total energy is the same. Okay? And the question is, when displacement is half the amplitude, so I've just written half the amplitude is A over 2, what fraction of the total energy is kinetic? Okay, so half the amplitude is like halfway between the equilibrium and the end position. Now, I can take the total energy as it being all elastic potential at the ends. Okay, that means at maximum amplitude, all the energy is elastic potential energy. So that's why I've got EP is half Ka squared, and because that's a formula for elastic potential energy, because at the ends there's no kinetic energy at all. Okay. Now, when the amplitude is half, the elastic potential energy it has is half K, and instead of A, I've got A over 2. Because your amplitude is squared, you end up with EP is half K A squared over 4. Okay, why do I get A squared over 4? Because you got A over 2 whole squared is A squared over 4. All right, so at half the amplitude, the amount of elastic potential energy is so much. That means the remaining is kinetic energy. So the remaining energy is kinetic. So how do I get the remaining energy, which is total energy minus the elastic potential energy at half the amplitude? Now we just found out at the start, the total energy is half Ka squared minus whatever elastic potential energy it has at half the amplitude. So I end up with this. And then, so I get half Ka squared is a common factor for both these. So I take the half Ka squared out, and this becomes 1 minus a quarter, and 1 minus a quarter is 3/4. So that tells us that 3/4 of the total energy is kinetic, and 3/4 is the same as 0.75. So I hope that made sense.